Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video I'm going to be talking about Huxwrx cans in comparison to the Otter Creek Labs Polonium 30. When I first got into rifle cans back in 2022, the Huxwrx offerings were the only ones that I was looking at because I'm a left-handed shooter. Had shot a standard Baffle can, a friend of mine's, it was a Silencer Co. Don't remember the name of it, but it's a 30 cal can. Shot it on his Mark 18, it gassed me the hell out. I was absolutely miserable. So flow through, and back at that time, these were really the only offerings available. Actually, to be honest, these two weren't even available yet. It was just the HX QD 556. So got that one, and have since gotten the Flow 762 along with the Flow 556K. And of course, most people I think have known or seen on social media and their interwebs, people absolutely bashing Huxwrx cans, saying that they're just loud. All they are is glorified blast diverters, etc., etc. So I was always very, very curious about how much different a standard Baffle can sound would be to the Huxwrx. Now, kind of going back to Huxwrx cans being loud, I will say the Flow 556K, this is a loud can. It's not quiet at all. So if you're going to base your opinion on this, yeah, they are loud. The Flow 762 and the HXQD 556, they sound very, very similar. So much so that I can't really tell a difference. I do want to say that, you know, so far since the bit that I've learned about cans since I've gotten into them, you know, I know a lot of people use Pew Science data, and I'm not trying to knock Pew Science data. It is, I think though, it is so granular that you may get the wrong idea about how a can is actually going to sound that once you get it. For example, I'll say the Flow 556K. This can is rated very, very well if you according to Pew Science. This can here blows this can absolutely out of the water. If you look at their Pew Science suppression rating, I don't remember exactly what it is, but when you hear them in person, they are absolutely are not. Talks about how quiet this is, even on guns as small as a Mark 18. It is not quiet at all. You know, with these rifle cans, you can wear no ears shooting 5.56, and you shouldn't, because it's louder than what you should without getting hearing damage. But you can shoot them without discomfort. This can you cannot. Whether it be a 10.3 or whether it be an 18-inch. You shoot this and you have no ears on, it does bother your ears. These cans, though, sound very, very similar. And, you know, the Flow 762 Ti, when this came out, and it still does, have a very high suppression rating according to Pew Science. A lot of that, I think, it's based off decibels. So I caution people to not chase decibels, and it's really so much, it's more around tone. And it's hard to say sound, you know, it's subjective going from person to person. You know, what sounds good to one person may not sound good to another. Some person may have very bad hearing damage, the other person may have perfect hearing. So it's going to vary quite a bit. So don't just look at decibel ratings. Don't only look at Pew Science data because it is all very, very different in real life, at least to me. I will also say that Huxwrx cans, you know, they are not cheap at all. They've come down in price quite a bit, but, you know, they're typically around $1,300 or so. You know, this I think was like $1,100 or $1,200. I think this one was $1,100. This one was like $1,300. They are definitely not cheap. So, you know, over the last couple of years, I've been hearing more and more about the Polonium. So whether it be the Polonium 556, the Polonium 30, such as this, or the Polonium K, they've gotten a reputation for being a very good sounding can and a pretty quiet can. Now, are there quieter? Yeah, I'm sure there are. But I think the Polonium is a pretty universally agreed to be that it is a quiet can. Albeit it is a very gassy can. So that's kind of like the give and take, that you're getting better sound, but you are also getting a lot of gas. And on the other benefit of this can, it is very, very cheap. You can find these cans for about $522 before tax and shipping, depending where you get them from and what state you may not get charged for tax. And the shipping may be very, very reasonable. Bought this one here from Centerfire Reserve. I'm going to go ahead and put a shameless plug in for them. Not associated with them by any means, but I have bought another this can from them, along with a couple others, and just recently more so a Polonium K. Now, being that I have so many Huxwrx cans, all of my hosts primarily have Huxwrx muzzle devices. If you didn't know it, Huxwrx has proprietary mounts, meaning that you can only use Huxwrx cans on their mounts. So that has always limited to what I could use. So with the invention of the Ventum that came out a couple years ago, Huxwrx started making a hub QD adapter. I had a YouTube short on this. But what this does is that you can use any hub compatible can, such as this Polonium, such as this Putnik, such as this Dead Air Primal, along with many others. So tons of offerings out there. Hub is really probably one of the most popular mounts out there, or at least a very popular mount. So if you have a hub compatible can, you can use this as adapter. You can use it along with your Huxwrx mount. So now I was no longer limited to only Huxwrx cans. So finding out about that, and then also learning and hearing more about the Poloniums, I really wanted to see how much quieter, how much different it was compared to the Huxwrx cans. Let's go ahead and roll this guy back out, and really getting a good comparison, taking a two comparable cans or models where you have the 30 cal Flow 762 Ti, and then you have the Polonium 30. As you see, very similar size altogether. They are both 30 caliber cans. If you were going to go off Pew Science suppression ratings, the Huxwrx Flow 762 Ti has a 35.7, and the Otter Creek Polonium 30 has a 30.9, with both guns being tested on a 10.3-inch barreled Mark 18. Additionally, if you dive a little deeper into the Pew Science suppression rating, both of these do sound quieter to the shooter than they do to bystanders. So a little bit different. Again, there's a little bit of that subjectivity that people may run into when they talk about cans. Now, I know I mentioned that, don't rely so much on Pew Science data, then here I am touting a lot of it. I'm just using that example. If you use that as a data point, because I see it all over the place, according to Pew Science this, according to Pew Science that. And then also trying to paint the picture that some cans do sound different depending if you're the person behind the gun or if you're standing as a bystander around the person shooting the gun. So going back to these cans, I was interested to see how they were going to sound. Now that I have the ability to run a different can outside of Hux on there, I wanted to go ahead and give it a shot. I wanted to kind of take as much subjectivity or elements out of it, or different factors out of it. So I do have two IWI Galil Ace, 13-inch barreled 5.56 guns. One's a Gen 2, one is the Rock and Lock, but it's essentially the same gun. Both of them have Huxwrx mounts on them, so I think that's pretty much about as similar as you're gonna get. I think it's a lot easier being able to shoot them side by side versus screwing a can on, taking a couple shots, screwing it back off, screwing the new one on, and etc. So hit up the range today, brought both guns out, used the same type of ammo, PMC X-Tac M193, took the two cans out, and then did a little bit of shooting side by side. Did it from different angles, from right next to me, to the left of me, the right, going down range. You can hear a little bit of difference. I will preface this and say that, cell phones do a horrible job of picking up sound. If you listen to the video closely, I believe the Polonium does sound a little bit better than the Huxwrx Flow 762 Ti. I will say one thing that I was very surprised about, and what I was expecting, is I've always read that because of the flow-through design where the gases are coming out the front on the Huxwrx cans, that it is much louder downrange. People be like, who gives a crap though? Because, if you're shooting at someone, they're going to be dodging bullets, whatever. So I was expecting this to sound quite a bit louder downrange than the OCL Polonium 30. I didn't notice that, at least not on the video. Let me go ahead and roll that in now. So again, video or cell phones do a horrible job of truly picking up sound. Both can sound really good. In real life, it is really hard. From the shooter, from me shooting the guns, it is very hard to hear the difference between these two cans. We're going back and forth between the two and shooting them. Really pleasantly surprised about that. Again, I know the Polonium 30 is not the quietest can out there, but it is considered universally agreed upon that it is a pretty quiet can overall. All right, so that wraps this one up. Hope it helped anybody out who has ever wondered that or is thinking about picking up a Huxwrx, but it didn't want to have a much louder can versus a standard Baffle can. At least with comparison to these two cans on the guns that I shot, with the ammo that I shot, didn't really hear much difference whatsoever. I will say, you know, as expected, there's more gas with the Polonium 30. And what I also noticed is that the recoil impulse is sharper with the Polonium than it is with the Huxwrx cans. I assume that's because of the gas back pressure. That was definitely noticeable. And I'm not even just talking about ejection pattern. That too was much heavier and threw the shells farther. You could feel a difference in your shoulder when you were firing the gun with the Polonium 30 versus the Flow. So please like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications. You can get notices as soon as I drop a new video. Share the video. It really helps the channel out. I appreciate all of your views, all of your comments, all the interactions. We'll see you in the next one.